Welcome to the sixth and final episode of Chalk Talk for the 2024 football season, sponsored by Allied Realty Groups. I'm your host, Ryan Himrod. Well, unfortunately, the season is over. We have a lot to recap on. This season, the Monarchs put out 2 wins. The first win was at home against Cisar, where the Monarchs won 42-21. And the second win was against Point Pleasant at Point Pleasant, where the Monarchs won 34-21. Joining me now to recap on the 2024 season, look ahead on the 2025 season, is JM head coach Mark Cisar. Coach Cisar, I want to talk about Isaac Swager for a second. The star transferred from Park to JM, and by the time the season's over, we know his name quite well. How important was he to the team this year, and do you see him as an asset to the team in the future?
Well, first of all, Ryan, thanks for having me on the show. To talk about Isaac Swager a little bit, we were so glad that he actually came here. Outstanding young man. Definitely big benefits from him being on the team, and there'll be big benefits from him, down the road for just what he provided. His leadership, his knowledge of the game, breaking film down, watching film. He probably watched just as much film as some of the coaches did, and definitely watched a lot more than most of the players. But he's definitely going to be missed. Just the excitement that he brought to the team, the knowledge that he brought to the team, it's going to be huge. It's going to be missed. It was definitely a pleasure to have around. Played multiple positions for us: fullback, tight end, wing, defensive end, linebacker. We're definitely going to miss him. I'm going to miss him a lot.
Including Swager, Maverick Masters, Mason Markinich, and Kane Martin are some defensive names we heard a lot this season. How did guys like those 4 help push the team this year?
Well, our defense played well all year long, and that kind of started, during the summer with Coach Griff Yoakum. Coach Griff, he was awesome all summer long. We put in all new defense, and for instance, the last game against William Park, I think we ran 7 or 8 different defensive looks. But our defense, kept us in games this year. We were in a lot of games, even though we were only 2-8. We had our chances a lot of times in the fourth quarter. And like you said, there are several different names that stood out. One week might be Maverick standing out. The next week might be, Mason Markinich standing out. Our secondary played really well the last 2 games. We had 3 picks this last game. Hayden Geiser had another one. Brooks Harrison had another one. And had a big one by Caden Bungard that he returned about 70 yards almost for a touchdown. So defensively, they kept us in games this year.
This season, the Monarchs were a very second-half team, both defensively and offensively. How did that help the team this year?
Well, to be in the game at the end of the game, it's huge. We had some bad first halves this year, and they kept us right there. And like you said, to be in the game at the end of the game, that's all you want is a chance at the end of the game. Like this last week, we had a chance to get an onside kick. If we get that, we're definitely right there. So our defense kept us in games, and us playing well the second half was a key that allowed us to be in games. And that's all you can ask for in high school football.
You have a lot of young talent coming up from the middle schools and among your freshmen. Are there any big names that we should look forward to seeing next year?
No, obviously we got to see a couple here the last couple of weeks. Dalton Cooper actually stood out, moved into tailback, and got to play the last 2 games, and rushed for 215 yards against Point Pleasant, and then had another 115 against William Park. But that has a lot to do with Maverick Masters going to fullback and leading the way and providing holes. And our line actually played very well both those games. But he's not the only one. There's going to be a lot of shoes to fill. 6 or 7 guys on defense will be gone, but there's a lot of guys that have good young reps in the linebacker position, in the defensive line, in the secondary. There's going to be a lot of guys that have to fill in and step up, and they did a good job at JV. So a lot of those names, you may have heard a little bit this year, are going to be standouts next year.
Sadly, you have 14 seniors leaving this year, and some of those guys are big names. How will some of this year's juniors fill in those spots and lead the team next year?
Well, they're going to fill those spots in because, we did an excellent job during practice. You're running scout team offense, scout team defense. So a lot of those guys filling in. It's tough. Those aren't easy to fill, especially when you have had guys play those positions for 2-3 years. Like a Maverick Lemaster has been there for 3 years, or Brooks Harrison for 2 years. Carter Atkins 2 years, Hayden Geiser. You can go on down the list. Those aren't easy fill-ins, but at the same time, sometimes you're stuck behind those guys, and you may be almost just as good as them. You're filling in with an A-class guy next year, a level 1 varsity player that's been stuck behind a guy for 2 years that we know can do the job. So we're excited because there are a lot of guys filling in next year that we know can do the job. So it's something to look forward to. We lose 14 seniors, 14 outstanding seniors. Going to miss, enjoyed coaching those guys. And, they provided great team leadership, fun to be around, great practice atmosphere. Even though we're only 2-8, joy and pleasure to be around every day.
Thanks for joining me today, Coach.
I appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you.
Thanks for watching this season of Chalk Talk, sponsored by Allied Realty Groups. While WJMH sports football broadcasts are over, stay tuned to the WJMH Media's social media pages for other upcoming events. Reporting from the studio, I'm Ryan Himrod for WJMH Sports.